Hello guys, today we're talking about Nobody Saves the World. Nobody Saves the World is a simple, fun dungeon crawler with a few flaws that might be a deal breaker. The premise is that you're a little guy who gets a magic wand that lets him space shift. Whenever you unlock a new form of shapeshift into, you also unlock unique active and passive abilities that can then be applied to any of the other forms. These forms span fantasy tropes like frogs and rangers to oddities like bodybuilders and killer bees. Onto the gameplay. It's an adventure game along the lines of a 2D Zelda game. You walk around, break stuff for money, talk to some people, do simple quests, hit levers to open up new areas, etc. I'm very bad at figuring out where to go in these sorts of games, but I had no issue with this game. So if you are into that sort of thing, it might be a little too easy for you. The combat and dungeon crawling is kind of like a bullet hell game but easier. Dungeons involve lots of enemies that talk at you, charge you, or shoot stuff at you. The gameplay isn't outstanding, but most of the fun is unlocking the forms, leveling them up, and making a unique build. Unfortunately, the forms and the dungeons are also two of my biggest issues with the game. Unlocking new forms is gated behind completing certain simple tasks, kill X number of enemies with Y ability, but also story progress, meaning that you cannot rush a form that you want to play as, and that characters' passive and active abilities are gated until the latter part of the game. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as a game about unlocking these characters to break down their parts and build back together as a unique new build. This is even worse with the DLC, which is kind of impressive with how poorly implemented it, but I'll get to that later. My second biggest issue is the dungeons, or more accurately one specific gameplay mechanic, wards. Wards are shields that make an enemy invulnerable until you damage them with a specific type of damage. There are 4. I just do not find this mechanic very fun. I realize that it's meant to break you out of playing with one specific form build, but I really wish they did it in a different way. It would even be fine if they took reduced damage. I just find the invulnerability to slow down the game by adding a rock, paper, scissors element that didn't need to be there. I think that these two issues wouldn't be an issue if the game was more along the lines of Diablo, with randomization and reasons to keep playing it over and over again, but it's not. It's a story game and it feels wrong to get a cool new ability when your time with the game is coming to an end. And it feels wrong to have dungeons pushing you to switch up your build when I feel at least that the game is about finding the right mix of abilities that you like. The writing is not for me, but it might be for you. It's that sort of wacky, random, PG humor and a lot of indie games have. Sort of reminiscent of Beetlejuice, but less charming in my opinion. It's not a dialogue-heavy game. It's easy to ignore. Onto the DLC, which is so poorly implemented that I'm not sure that they were thinking when they made it. If you want more of the same, it ain't it. It's a weird sort of puzzle gauntlet which involves you thinking up the best build for these little minigames. I don't like it at all. And the worst part is that it adds 2 new forms. Awesome! 2 new forms that I can unlock and incorporate into my builds, right? Wrong. First of all, if you already beat the game, then you won't be even want the new forms because the game is over, other than DLC which you have to play halfway through to unlock them. And even then, they won't be too helpful to finishing the rest of the DLC. So the longer you wait to play the DLC, the more of the main game that you are missing out on using these forms. So then just play the DLC first, right? Also wrong. To complete the puzzles, you have to already have unlocked many of the main game forms and upgrade them. So the best way to play the DLC is to play the main game and periodically see which of the challenges that you can beat so that you can unlock the new characters as fast as possible. So you can actually play the game with them. It might be forgivable if the DLC was actually fun, but it isn't. At the end of the day, I like the game. It's sort of a lot of things. Sort of adventure, sort of bullet hell, sort of collectatron, and I sort of like it. It does everything perfectly, completely, but no one thing outstandingly. It's a fun idea and I enjoyed my time. So this brings me to an end. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe, put thumbs up, and leave your comments about this game, whether you like it or not. Thank you for being with me. See you next video. Goodbye.